Hi there. Thank you for tuning in to Grow Your Gifts. Today I'd like to talk about how to dissolve fear. All right. So, I just want to mention from yesterday's topic that in my opinion, I think it's good to remember that being a parent is the most rewarding and at the same time the lowest paying job. So it's got great benefits. The position's got great benefits, but it does not pay well. So I think that's, kind of helpful to just summarize. You know, we don't do it for the money. Basically, anybody who works with parents, if you're a grandparent, if you're an uncle, if you're an auntie, if you're a cousin, and whoever you are, and you work with, especially with young children, yeah, the benefits are great, but we do not do it for the pay. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to add to yesterday's topic. So for today, how to dissolve fear. Just going to share a few techniques that worked with me, and I'll give you a couple examples as well from my personal life, and possibly it's something that resonates with you, or you've already tried, and yeah, we'll go from there. So the first example I want to share was back in, both examples were around the same time, and it was when I was maybe school age child, and we had the house to ourselves, and it was just me and my eldest sister. Everyone else was on vacation or something, so we were like ordering pizza every night. We're like, yay, this is awesome. But we're both in the habit of just leaving things there. That's the age, but also we were tired. So whatever the reason, the pizza boxes piled up, and my sister's like, "You better go take care of that." And I was like, "Oh man, do I have to?" So yeah, I did. And I'm picking up the pizza boxes in the kitchen, getting ready to take them to the recycling bin and all that stuff. And underneath the bottom one, there's like all these ants. Oh my God. I lost it. I don't know why. I don't know why I was sensitive to that in particular, but it was something about the amount of ants and it being in my home environment and my personal space. I freaked out. I ran upstairs. I went to the top bunk as far away as I could from these ants. My head's just spinning like, oh my God, even if one of those ants has babies, like, and then they have babies, and then, oh my God, I was like hyperventilating, dripping with sweat. I was hiding under like 3 blankets. This is daytime, and I was freaking out. I was having a good old meltdown, panic attack basically. And my sister found me at some point when she came home, and she's like, "What happened? What's going on here? You're all sweaty and crying and stuff." So I explained what happened. She's like, "Okay, just chill in the bed for a little bit." She vacuumed everything. She took care of it. So that was one experience, and it like shocked me to my core. I did not see it coming. I never had any major thing with bugs before because we were outside, and I was like, "Oh, okay, there's a worm, and oh, there's a beetle, and oh, cool, ladybug." But something about in my home environment and the multitude of them, I don't know. So the other one, again around the same age, me and my sister are playing in the backyard, and the grass is long and stuff, and suddenly we look down and we're like, "What's on our legs? What's on our feet?" And it was some sort of like, again, ants, like a clinging ant. I've never seen this before. I don't know what it was. I was so young, I don't really remember, but it was some sort of bug, and it was black, and it was clinging to us. And we both freaked out, like, what is that? And she quickly, like a good big sister does, thought of a solution and grabbed the hose, and it's freezing cold water, but she is like spraying those ants off of our skin, you know, hers and mine. And then even like I have a birthmark on my foot. She's like spraying it, and I'm like looking. I wasn't looking, and then I looked, and I was like, wait, why is she still spraying? It's freezing cold, and it's like a forceful stream of water from that hose. And I was like, oh, that's my birthmark, that's my birthmark. So I really remember viscerally that moment where it's like, what is this on my body? So any bugs in multitude in my house, or any bugs on my body, I was freaking out. Those two things combined around that same age, and I was like, oh, as long as they're in nature, you do you. All right, enjoy your home, bugs. That's where you belong. So, but it took me forever to get over this crippling fear. And I wouldn't even say get over. I would say, heal it. And the way, it came to me, of course, in my 20s, I was in the realm of like self-help books. I don't know what's going on with my talking today. It's Peter Piper picked up pepper pickles. Anyway, and from my self-help books, research and everything, I discovered Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he, the main thing I took away from that was approach that fear with curiosity. And it was really hard to do at first, but especially when I had my own apartment, I had the opportunity to really test that out and really practice that. And there was no one else around me, and it was just me and that centipede in my living room. All right, so all I wanted to do, and my sisters, taught me how to like scoop the bug somehow with a paper and dustpan, and just kind of take it outside and let it go outside, kind of thing. So you don't have to vacuum it. You can do whatever you want, basically get it out of your house. But that was the system. And at that time I was really into scooping it or putting a plastic container over that dustbin with the centipede in there, and then just throwing it on the balcony and leaving it for a few days and be like, okay, it's gone. Shake my stuff, bring it back inside and clean it. So that was my system. But before I even approached the centipede that I knew moved really fast, it's like the size of my hand. Like, how is it the size of my palm? Like, okay. So I'm getting the creepy crawlies. All that panic attack stuff is coming back. And I'm just, okay, deep breathing, of course. Deep breathing helps. So approach with curiosity. How I took that was, let's see how many legs you have. Wow, there's so many. I wonder which side is your eyes and your face. Maybe it's this end or that end. What color are you? Oh, you're light brown. Oh, you actually have some stripes on you. So the more I just kept approaching this centipede that was not moving, and I just kept observing it and calming my breath and being like, okay, approach with curiosity. What else can I be curious about this insect? And the more and more I did that and practiced that, I was able to do what I had to do and scoop it. And every time it became more calm, more like I was in charge, like I was just doing my job, like it's just something that needed to be done and I'm taking care of it. Basically, after a few years of doing that, when someone found a bug, they called me. So, I had no problem taking care of it, which I did. So, yeah, and even these days, sometimes, I get a little freaked out if it's like some fast moving or whatever. But again, I just use the tool of approach with curiosity, that type of thing. And it has worked wonders for me. I can't even explain. So the other example I'm going to give is parking in tight spaces. Like it took me a long time to get used to using a certain car, The car would become like an extension of my body. Like I knew its dimensions and everything. So parking in the same spot or driveway over and over was no problem for me, or in grocery stores or where. I still park far away just because it's my comfort level and I don't mind the walk. But yeah, parking in really tight spaces, like I just refused. I was like, whoever's around me, you need to switch with me, and I'm not doing it, and you need to do it. It's not happening. Sorry. So the other driver would go and park the car if that was the only option. But when I moved to a new house, this is my old house, but at that time it was my new house. I had no other option. And I don't know why they design these townhouses like this. Like even my parents are like, this is too cramped. It doesn't make sense. Like, so anyway, the car fits, but just there's like this much space on both sides. Okay, maybe there's a little bit more, but for the door from the garage, but still, it's like, so I can open my door to get to, you know, shimmy out and then go through the garage door and get in the house, but this much space, right? So, you know, I had to do it. There was no one was gonna save me. No one's gonna rescue me. I had to learn how to do it. Yeah, I could have parked in the driveway, but that's the other thing about me. If I have a garage, I'd really rather protect the car, you know, in the snow and all this other stuff. You don't have to clean off the snow, and it's just so much easier when the car is covered. So that trumped everything for me. So I really had the motivation that, okay, I want this car in the garage. I'm gonna learn this. So again, the panic attacks were coming. I was dripping with sweat. I would come in and out of the car, being like, is it good? Is it good? Is it good? So what I want, my takeaway from this example is exposure therapy. Now, when I say exposure therapy, I'm not talking about like fear factor, dump a bunch of scorpions on yourself. No. To me, that's just cuckoo, ridiculous. I mean, sure, face your fears. It's just way too extreme for me. I tried to watch that show, and even then I was like, this is nuts. I can see the come from and the intention. Okay, that can be interesting if you're like a yogi or a rishi or a sage and mind over matter type of thing, but no thank you, not for me. I do not want to eat live worms or whatever they did on the show. I don't remember. Very older show with Joe Rogan as the host and all that good stuff. So parking in tight spaces, exposure therapy, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's the technical term for it, but that's what I like to call it. And the more I just kept exposing myself to that, I mean, I would do it every day, sometimes, you know, 2 or 3 times a day, you know, twice a day. Like if I'm going to a grocery store, I'm going somewhere else, you know, so just in and out. And I didn't have to check over time in and out of my car. Like my neighbors must have been like, what is wrong with this girl? Oh my God. So it worked, and I even impressed my sisters after like a year of doing this. Yeah, it took me a while. They were like, wow, you did that in one go. You didn't break a sweat. You're not hyperventilating. Because they're standing outside in the driveway watching me like seamlessly pull that car into that garage. I was like, yeah, I did it. What? So my confidence grew, as you could tell. And it was like no sweat after. And even now, you know, I have more confidence with those things. I really choose not to. I'm like, why? It's just give each other more space. Come on. So I'd rather park far away. But, you know, that's my personal preference. That's my comfort zone with space and other objects. We all are different like that. So I was really hip, hip, hooray, proud of myself for overcoming that fear of insects and parking in tight spaces. So those are more like outside fear. So now we're going to go more for like the deep end and inside fear. But yeah, we're really going to nutshell this as much as we can and just summarize, focus. Let's get to the meat and bones of it. So inside fear, just generally from my own self-help healing journey, things like, anger, and I don't know what else. I was mostly just angry a lot all the time. It's usually just the surface emotion, and almost always whatever those low frequency intense surface emotions are, almost always what's underlying is a fear. It's a real, true, solid as anything fear. And usually it comes from your early childhood experiences. I mean, to me it makes sense. We're just picking up where we left off from our past lifetime. That's, where I'm coming from. That's my understanding of it so far. So why wouldn't our early childhood experiences help us remember, like, okay, this is through kind of not so nice experiences. Not to say that those were okay or justify them in any way, but I've come to understand that everything really does happen for a reason. And that's been my experience. So inside fear, so when I was working with, a therapist and counseling and all that stuff, we really learned how to put things into words and distill it more into, so I'll just give 3 concrete examples of that. So fear on the inside of not being worthy. So feeling worthless. Fear of not being good enough. So feeling inadequate or feeling incompetent. Fear of not being accepted or not being approved of. So feeling isolated and feeling alone. So that was the exercise, and I did it with many other areas inside myself, but we'll just stick with those 3. So yeah, what happened as well I'll speak for myself. When I operated from that place in such a big way, not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, not feeling accepted, not feeling approved, I got locked into toxic codependent relationships, mostly with my intimate relationships. Professionally, I was a different person. I put my hat on when I go to work. I put a specific hat on when I'm with family dinners or something, Thanksgiving or whatever. But, in your very intimate relationships, so you're vulnerable, all your crap comes to the surface too, right? So that's when it became very toxic codependent relationships, and it was not fun. And very unhealthy and actually dangerous habits. There's unhealthy lifestyle habits, but then there's, in some areas, borderline dangerous habits as well. So that was the realm all of that was taking me in, you could say, in my sort of darkest times, I guess you could say. So what really helped me, when I had enough of it, and I was like, all right, what do I do? Enough is enough, I'm done. I was seeking help, and from the professionals, from the healers and other people who I resonated with, they guided me to give my inner child a voice. That's one technique, that's one path, one way. So some examples of that is journaling, to draw, to color, to paint, to sing, to write, to dance, to use clay or Play-Doh, basically creative expression. So however my inner child wants to express something, and just go for it. All those things are not hurting myself, and it's not hurting anybody else. So there's so many other ways. Boxing class to basically you're getting it out of your system and on the paper, out of your system and on the canvas. It's really moving that stuck energy over and over and over again, and it really did something for me. It transformed something. So that was my focus with that, is to transform feeling, like for me, feeling worthless and not being worthy, to simply I am. I am that I am. Present moment awareness. To me, that was very powerful to just come into that beingness. Come back home, come back to myself. So that's what it translated to for me. And that feeling incompetent and not good enough transformed to, well, I can study, I can practice skills, and I can sit at home sharpening my sword, to give you a nice visual. And the feeling alone, transforming that to, I got you, I got you. So becoming my own best friend, ensuring my own safety. That was a huge one for me. Huge, as an adult, I got to look out for my own safety and ensure that. I won't go into detail with that one, but yeah, and spending time in nature. Nature is a great, great teacher for me. I did a lot of farming and gardening opportunities, working with chickens and things like that. But mostly, I spent a lot of time, and this has just happened, like happenstance. I did a lot of, yard work, painting, help around the house, like so many different things when I stayed with these awesome, awesome families. But the bulk of my work happened to be taking out weeds in British Columbia. Pulling out weeds, and I'm not talking little weeds. Some of them were taller than me. Okay. Some of them were really stubborn, but a lot of them were okay to just, grab by the root and pull out. So there's a lot of de-weeding. So it's like, why is this happening? So outer world reflects the inner world, right? So I felt like, this is after 2020, so it's what I needed. And I connected it to, those outer weeds are reflecting my own inner weeds. What have I nourished unconsciously? What have I unknowingly kept feeding? Things like that. Now it's my turn to, and all of that happened for a reason, compassionately, no judging myself, no putting myself down. So now it's my turn to take a look at those weeds, acknowledge them, accept that they are there, and I had a lot to do with it, and grab them by the root and yank them out over and over and over again. And a lot of those weeds had like medicinal properties too, so that was an interesting layer. So yeah, it was a very interesting layer, because when I started to see that, oh, okay, I'm transforming feeling worthless to I am, to feeling my present moment awareness, like, oh, that's like an archetype. So I started seeing archetypes everywhere, especially when I was working in nature, within myself. So I'm able to transform that broken, hurt inner child part of myself to maybe a high priestess, for example. And use that hat, use that role to, okay, well, it's my responsibility to give my inner high priestess what she needs, what she's asking for, what she's communicating to me, mantra meditation or whatever it might be, or taking that long walk in nature, or, reading that spiritual book, or meditating, sitting in meditation, like whatever it might be, to remind myself of my own self-worth. It's a practice. It's not just, mental convincing yourself or something. No, for me, it was really literally uncovering and unveiling that which already is there. So for like the incompetent and not feeling good enough, for example, I transformed that to my own nurse, my own healer. And skills I learned, how to get certain nutrition and things like that. I mean, it's constant lifelong learning. We're always, always learning. and it's not about being perfect, but I feel a lot better. I mean, I feel capable and competent to give myself the nourishment I need. I have aches and pains like everybody else, and growing pains and all that stuff, and pull a muscle and everything, but for the most part, oh my gosh, if I compare who I was before 2020 to who I am now, and just how I feel overall, and that inner nurse and that inner healer, what putting that hat on and giving those things to myself, using that role, using that archetype, I mean, complete game changer. So yeah, I won't give specific examples, but you get the gist. And then that feeling alone, to I got you, girlfriend, you know, that became like my inner firefighter. I mean, you can call it police or EMS or whatever you want to call it, but for me, it was, I resonated with firefighter. And maybe because I was in BC, and oh my God, there was a lot of wildfires that summer, 2021, I believe. I mean, thank God the fire never got to me, and the smoke was just kind of following me place to place, and I always seemed to like go to a new place before that fire reached me. But you know, I was saved in that way. Yeah, it really affected a lot of people. It's crazy. So maybe that's why, as an archetype, you know, that resonated with me as well. Constant relationship going on with the inner and outer is pretty cool. So firefighter, my inner firefighter, and putting that hat on, you know, ensuring my own safety. Like, I mean, you look at them, what they do, when they are called to action, right? But the rest of the time, you know, I don't know the details of their life, but from what I imagine, and from TV shows and that Tacoma show and things like that, like they're working as a team and working as a unit, and working on their body as a temple. Like, they got to keep up all these different things. I mean, sure, they're having fun and socializing and doing other things, but to rescue other people, I mean, I can't imagine what that's like in real life, but using that archetype with myself really helped me connect certain things. And I mean, this is not always true, but for me, what it came down to was so powerful, because I translated that to, well, if I got myself into this mess, I have the power to get myself out. Most of the time, that was the case. Sometimes you just gotta go through it. There's no other backdoor special tricks or magic to escape what's going on. Sometimes you just gotta go through it. So I had that as well, but most of the time I found that, you know, unconsciously, not unintentionally, I had gotten myself into a certain mess. So that means that I have the power to get myself out, which is so good. So yeah, I just want to end this video with, yeah, just if it helps you to look at the tarot archetypes. I mean, there's so many kind of tarot decks. I don't do tarot. It's not really for me, but I love that it can be a great tool for other people, and I enjoy getting readings from time to time, but yeah, it's never been something I've been called to, basically. But just even looking at the different archetypes and the visuals online with a deck that, you know, resonates with me has been powerful. Just seeing those pictures and those different categories and meditating on that, or deeply contemplating that. And it just reminds me that life is happening for me for the most part. And I start seeing that this hellish, soul-sucking world is more as a dojo. This is my dojo, and this is my practice. Lean with it, rock with it, you know? And the more and more I practice with clear intention, usually the less hellish it seems. So that's been my experience so far. Yes, I do my gratitude work, and I have so much to be grateful for in any given moment, and that is where I choose to put my focus much of the time. But let's face it, you know, world's a crazy place. Let's keep it real. Let's be honest with ourselves. And I did my best to summarize some very deep material, very powerful material. Maybe you already know all this. Maybe you can benefit from it. Who knows? And I just wanted to share it. I felt called to share it.